16-year-old Steve Robards fell ill. He died later that night of a heart attack. 1 year later, while reading Hamlet, Steve Robards' daughter studied the lines of Claudius the King when he says the following about death, jealousy, guilt, and revenge.
My words fly up, my thoughts remain below. Words without thoughts never to heaven go.
In these words, a clue to her father's death. The cities of Dallas and Fort Worth, Texas. Locals call it the Metroplex. It's the largest consolidated metropolitan area in the state, known for the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in Dealey Plaza in 1963.
It's official now. The president is dead.
38-year-old Steve Robards was a Texas native, recently divorced, and worked as a mail carrier for the United States Postal Service.
Very proud of his job, which was just a rural route postman, but he liked his job. He liked being outdoors and felt some pride in it.
His 16-year-old daughter Marie had recently moved in with him after a disagreement she had with her mother's new husband.
So they were living in a one-bedroom apartment at this time, and he was on the list to get the next available larger apartment, and he was very happy about having his daughter in his life at this point.
Marie enrolled in Eastern Hills High School, where she was a popular straight-A student.
Quiet, studious, elegant, the kind of girl that sort of you looked at twice and always wanted to get to know because she seemed so reserved, so poised, so intelligent. There was never a flaw about her. I mean, her face, complexion was perfect.
By all accounts, both father and daughter enjoyed living together, but their lives changed forever on the night of February 17, 1993. Just after dinner, Steve Robards attended an evening church service. When he returned home, he told his girlfriend and daughter he wasn't feeling well.
After a little while, he started getting stomach cramps, severe stomach cramps, and they became more severe as the night progressed.
Is that any better?
I feel terrible.
After a few hours, ultimately, 911 was called, and he went into what appeared to be a coma-like state right there in the living room.
He began to foam at the mouth and became nauseous. And by the time the ambulance guys got there, he was dead.
An autopsy revealed the death was caused by cardiac arrest.
And I didn't want to believe it. How could it be that bad? He was 38. How could it be that serious? He was 38.
His heart was mildly enlarged. It was probably 25% too heavy for a man his age and size. And somewhat uncomfortably, I signed it out as a natural death.
After Steve Robards' death, Marie went to live with her grandparents and transferred to Mansfield High School for a new start.
So for 1 year, Marie lived the kind of perfect life every parent would hope their child would live. She was an excellent student. She never got in trouble. She always turned in her homework. She dated some, but she was never in any way regarded as a wild girl.
After graduation, Marie used the $60,000 she received from her father's life insurance policy to attend the University of Texas. She majored in pre-med. Her dream was to become a pathologist.
Even then, she was just one of the most talented of the many freshmen at that sprawling university. There was nothing that suggested anything except she was headed for this kind of excellent life that seemed her destiny.
Midway through her freshman year, Marie learned that police were investigating her father's death. They questioned how a 38-year-old man could have died of a heart attack so young.
It was, by all accounts, the perfect crime.
After Steve Robards' unexpected death, his daughter Marie transferred to a new high school and made a new friend, Stacy High.
I would have to say we were best friends. You know, we kind of fell in love with each other, you know, just, we had so much in common.
Stacy sees in Marie, she sees something in Marie. She sees through her in a way. She realizes that poise and that perfection is disguising something.
During senior year, Stacy and Marie were both required to read Shakespeare's Hamlet for English class. As they read the play together, Stacy happened to begin with Claudius's soliloquy in Act 3, in which Claudius agonizes over his decision to repent for killing Hamlet's father.
My fault is past, but oh, what form of prayer can
serve my turn. Forgive me my foul murder. That cannot be, since I am still possessed of those effects for which I did the murder.
So Stacy reads the line and goes, "Isn't that cool, Marie, how that's written?" And Marie's standing, frozen, and tears begin to stream down her face.
She asked me, "Stacy, do you think people can go through life without a conscience?"
And there was Stacy with her questions. You have a secret?
Yes.
You've done something?
Yes.
And you know, Stacy's first question, "Oh my God, you're pregnant." Marie went, "No, it's worse."
So after a while of guessing, I said, "Did you kill someone?" She nodded her head yes.
And that's when Marie broke down and cried.
I can't talk about this right now.
Marie then admitted the unthinkable, that she murdered her own father. She said she did it with a poison she stole from her chemistry class a year earlier.
Okay, everybody quiet. Working on our lab reports today. Be very careful with this stuff. Now, everyone get your notebooks out.
Marie said that she took the poison when the teacher's back was turned, placed it in a paper towel, and hid it in her backpack. One week later, while preparing dinner, Marie mixed it into her father's Mexican food, which concealed the taste of the poison.
There you go.
Thank you, sweetie.
The poison she used mimicked the signs of a heart attack, and her father died a few hours later. The autopsy never detected the poison in his system. After the confession, Marie swore Stacy to secrecy. If the pledge was broken, Stacy knew her best friend would spend the rest of her life in prison.
Stacy is tormented, however, by the secret she too is trying to keep. And she begins to have these nightmares.
In one of these recurring nightmares, Stacy hears the voice of Marie's father calling from the grave. In another, Stacy sees Marie chasing her endlessly through the night.
She begins to lose her ability to focus. She can't concentrate in school. Her grades go down. She begins to drink too much at high school parties. At one point, she asks her mother if she can check into a psychiatric hospital for adolescents. And no one can figure out what had happened to Stacy. It seemed like the classic meltdown.
Stacy knew if she said anything, it would be her word against Marie's, since Steve Robard's death was ruled to be from natural causes. However, the pressure on Stacy High was too great. She told her mother, the school guidance counselor, and eventually the police.
So for 8 months, Stacy kept the secret, and it nearly destroyed her. And she finally had to confess. But Marie never would. And like Claudius, she seemed stuck, trapped in her own private hell.
When Stacy High told police that Steve Robards had been poisoned, the police searched the chemistry lab where his daughter Marie said she stole the poison that killed him. In the lab's safety manual, the page describing the chemical Marie allegedly used had been torn out.
It also tells you what precautions you need to take when using the substance. It also tells you what to do in case it's swallowed or your eyes come in contact with it.
If Marie used a poison to kill her father, why hadn't it shown up during the autopsy?
It's not a normal procedure unless there's some indication that we need to do that. It's a testing that we don't do here at the facility and we have to send out for. And the investigation did not lead us to suspect anything of that nature at the time of the death.
The chemical she used, the only way it could be detected is if the medical examiner in Fort Worth had a machine that cost $150,000 that could detect the trace of this chemical during an autopsy, which they didn't have and which they never even thought of using.
The technology which can find rare chemicals in human tissue is called a mass spectrometer gas chromatograph. Since Marie planned to attend medical school and become a pathologist, prosecutors suspected she was familiar with the screening test used by the local medical examiner. She also knew which poison wouldn't be detected. Investigators hoped that Steve Robard's tissue samples were still in storage since his death 18 months earlier.
The medical examiner's office was within days of destroying the tissue samples and the blood samples, as they do when there's nothing amiss. They don't suspect foul play or homicide.
The tissue samples were sent to an independent forensic laboratory in Pennsylvania, where they were analyzed with the mass spectrometer gas chromatograph. The poison they were looking for was a metallic substance and very rare. We will not reveal the name of the poison on this program. The gas chromatograph mass spectrometer directs a beam of electrons on the sample, breaking its component molecules apart for analysis. The results are charted on a graph. Each peak is a separate compound. The size of the peak is proportional to the amount present. The number is the exact time in minutes it took for the compound to travel through the column from the moment of its injection to detection. In Steve Robard's sample, scientists found a metallic compound with a retention time identical to the poison his daughter Marie admitted stealing from the chemistry lab. And the amount found in Steve Robard's body was massive, 28 times the lethal dose. With this news, Fort Worth homicide detective Thomas Boettcher went to the University of Texas in Austin to see Marie Robards.
She came out in the hallway and I introduced myself. I told her she was under arrest for the death of her father, Stephen Robards, years earlier. She had no response. There was no reaction.
And Marie quietly went with them, poised as ever, and once they got in that little room, they barely had to ask a question, and she confessed and broke down.
And she was pretty forthcoming with information fairly quickly. She didn't try to hide. She apparently was either guilt-ridden or had thought a lot about what she had done and came forward with the information.
The most fascinating aspect for both the police and for journalists covering the case was Marie's explanation of her motive.
What was it that made you want to kill your father? And she said, I wanted to be with my mom.
But in an ironic twist, like something out of a Shakespearean tragedy, it was all in vain, because Marie Robard's mother and her new husband were planning to move to Florida and didn't tell her until after her father's funeral. Marie had no choice but to move in with her grandparents so she could finish high school in Texas.
And thus began this tale that in many ways is a kind of twisted modern parable of teenage girls in the suburbs. These girls that have those mercurial emotions, but also many of whom are girls of divorce who are trying to grow up with parents who have split up and seem often preoccupied with rebuilding their own lives and forget about the needs of their own children.
Despite her confession, Marie Robard surprised everyone by deciding to plead not guilty. She now said she hadn't planned to kill her father at all. In 1996, Marie Robards went on trial for the murder of her father, Steve. She pleaded not guilty. Her defense was that she had no intention of killing him.
Get your notebooks out.
Marie admitted that she stole the poison from her high school chemistry lab. And she also admitted that she put the poison in her father's Mexican food. But she said she only planned to make him sick, not to kill him.
Of course, that doesn't make that much sense. If he just got sick, she wouldn't get to go back with her mother.
Prosecutors said Marie was a straight-A chemistry student, and the amount of poison used was 28 times the lethal dose.
Anybody who's going to go to a local medical school to study is probably, if they're a high school student, is probably above average as far as in the science department. And as a matter of fact, I mean, that was part of my investigation. I collected her grades, and she had very high marks in school and in the sciences.
Are you feeling any better?
I feel lousy. Could you give me some ginger ale?
They also pointed out that Marie stood by and watched her father die without saying a word to her father's girlfriend or the ambulance crew that tried to resuscitate him. 18 months later, the gas chromatography found what the first autopsy did not, that Steve Robards had died of a massive dose of poison. The prosecution presented Marie Robard's signed confession as evidence.
Did you know that this stuff is dangerous? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
How did you know that?
Because my chemistry teacher said
what?
that it was dangerous.
And Stacy testified that Marie told her that she always knew that enough of that chemical would have killed her father. And that was this defining moment, that her best friend admitted that Marie had the knowledge about what that poison would do.
The forensic evidence, the confession, and the testimony of her own best friend all worked against her.
The prosecutor in the case called her a relentless predator. Another prosecutor called her society's worst nightmare, a girl who kills her dad. But some people saw her as a kind of Lizzie Borden of Texas. This sweet, charming, successful, industrious young girl who suddenly did something inexplicable. And in this surprising twist, at least for me, I began to sense a sympathy developing for her. Because in many ways, she was the symbol of what modern divorce has done to our society.
The medical examiner says Marie was a very clever killer.
I'll just tell you, she was good enough to fake me out initially, because I, went for the head fake and couldn't find anything.
On May 9th, 1996, it took the jury less than an hour to find Marie Robards guilty of murder. She was sentenced to 27 years in prison.
I don't know what we do about it, but they are kids. They don't think exactly like adults. And that doesn't mean they can get by with something like this with a slap on the wrist, but 27 years seems a little excessive to me.
What she had done was commit the perfect crime. It was, by all accounts, the perfect crime.
Had Dorothy Marie not mentioned it to a friend, she probably would have gotten away with it. I mean, almost certainly would have gotten away with it.
Marie has never spoken about what's happened since. What is known is that Marie is the model prisoner at this women's unit in East Texas, where she's going to be staying for several more years. That she has never complained, that she always volunteers for the worst chores, that one day a psychologist went to see her and she was wearing this paper-thin prison garb, and a cold front had come through Texas, and she was shivering. And the psychologist said, "Why don't you ask for something warmer?" She said, "I don't deserve to." She shrugged, she smiled, and she said, "I'll be okay."
In 1996, a fire broke out in a rental home in North Carolina. One child died. Another was critically injured. To the family, the fire was a mystery. To investigators, it was murder. Tabor City, North Carolina, a small, rural sweet potato farming community in the western part of the state, and home to the Hinson family.
Joshua's first Christmas. Merry Christmas, buddy.
Joshua Hinson and his sister Brittany lived with their mother Terry and her boyfriend Rodney Strickland. Rodney worked in construction. Terry was a homemaker and student. On October 19, 1996, Rodney left to spend the night with his son in Fairbluff, about 15 miles away. Terry's mother, Bernice, came over to the house that night for dinner.
I was there when she took Brittany and Josh upstairs to bed. And as they were going upstairs to bed, the last words I heard Josh say is, "I love you," because he was just learning to talk.
After Bernice left, Terry plugged in a space heater to heat the home since it was the first cold night of fall. She fell asleep on the sofa in the living room around midnight. At 4 a.m., Terry was awakened by screams from her children. The house was on fire. The thick smoke and flames made it impossible to reach the children. The only thing Terry could do was call the fire department. The police arrived first, and an officer also tried to rescue the children. He too was unsuccessful.
He went kind of past me and got almost to the top of the stairway and said, "We can't get in."
To clear the way, Terry moved the space heater at the bottom of the stairs. By the time firemen arrived, the upstairs was almost entirely in flames. The children were rushed to the hospital, both in critical condition.
It's really hard to recognize her as Brittany. She was black from head to toe. And they told me when I got there they didn't think she'd make it.
Brittany was fortunate. She survived the fire. Tragically, 17-month-old Joshua did not.
They finally came out and said that he didn't make it. But they did ask me if I wanted to see him. They suggested I didn't. But that I could, that, they had to ask. And I didn't.
Yeah, I really loved him a lot. I really loved him, like, like he was my actual child. I loved him like that. I wanted my baby brother to at least have a long life. Because he did hardly even had a life. He was too young to die.
When the fire was extinguished, local authorities found evidence that the fire started in the children's bedroom closet. At first, they thought that Brittany might have been playing with matches, but when they looked into Terry Hinson's background, they uncovered information which made them suspect it might have been murder. Brittany Hinson, now 8 years old, remembers the horrible fire that burned through her home 4 years earlier.
I was burnt all over, and I had died, and I was up in heaven, and believe me, it's beautiful. And the rivers were rainbow paths and bridges, and were gold, and the houses were made out of clouds, which had the names on top that were of the people that would own them. I'm special because I had died and I came back alive. That's why I think I'm special.
Her younger brother Joshua, just 17 months old, died in the fire.
I just miss him a lot. I wish he hadn't died. I mean, he was so young.
With any kind of house fire, officials try to identify the cause. Generally, a fire burns longest at or near its point of origin, so the room with the most damage is usually where the fire started. Most of the damage was in Joshua's bedroom, which was at the top of the stairs. Investigators found a V-shaped pattern on the wall in Joshua's bedroom closet. It's a pattern that occurs when something combustible is against a wall. This discovery told investigators that the fire started on the closet floor and traveled up to the attic. A melted copper electrical wire was hanging from the attic, which investigators concluded had been burned in the fire and was not the cause of it. Special agents from the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation and the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms assisted in the investigation. They eliminated the nearby electrical outlet as the cause. And when they couldn't determine how the fire started, they concluded that someone had set it intentionally with a match or lighter.
I was told by the state agent that anyone who was in that house that night was a suspect. Anyone who had been in the house that evening would have been.
Investigators first talked to Brittany to see if she had been playing with matches that night. They were satisfied she had not. Next, they wanted to know where Terry's boyfriend Rodney was at the time of the fire.
Rodney had plenty of alibis. He was back in Fair Bluff with his son, spending the night. Plenty of people saw him.
But investigators were most suspicious of Terry, since she was sleeping on the sofa downstairs when the fire broke out, instead of in her bedroom upstairs. And they also discovered that a few years earlier, she had given 3 older children up for adoption.
The only reason Terry let those children go was because she did love them enough to want the best for them. And at that time, she could not give them anything, not even a home. She didn't have a job. She didn't have a car. She didn't have no money. She didn't have anything.
People made a leap from that event, the adoptions, to somehow that becoming a motive for killing her other child.
Witnesses also told police that at the fire scene, Terry behaved suspiciously.
Her mama said that she had been depressed, said she had been bringing books over for her to read at night. And her boyfriend said that she would sleep on the couch.
They just didn't think Terry was acting the way a mother would act if a child had been killed in a fire. There was just something wrong to them about it.
She was blamed for the fire. She was blamed that she's the one who did the fire. No, she didn't do it. She didn't do a single thing.
Terry denied having anything to do with setting the fire.
I was actually the only one considered. They had to eliminate Brittany because she was a child that could have started a fire at that age. Rodney couldn't be considered because he wasn't there. He was 12, 15 miles away.
Police arrested Terry Henson and charged her with murder, attempted murder, and arson. And her nightmare continued when her own lawyer hired an independent investigator who agreed with the prosecution that the fire had been intentionally set.
I mean, it took me a long time to realize my attorney wasn't going to help me. I still held a lot of faith that he was going to do something, and I finally realized, okay, he's not.
If convicted, Terry could face the death penalty. For 61 days, Terry Henson sat in a North Carolina jail cell, waiting to be tried for murder and arson. Eventually, Terry was released on a $200,000 bond, but remained under house arrest. And with no one else to turn to, Terry conducted her own research into the fire that killed her son Joshua. First, with her computer, she made a search on the internet. She typed in the word fire.
I spent several days, probably weeks, looking on the internet for something that would help my case. I didn't understand the internet as far as there being actually people out there that you could talk to. Wasn't sure of how to talk to them if I did know.
It was slow going until Terry found an article written by a fire investigator in Sydney, Australia.
Is it an accidental fire or arson? Tony Cave.
The article described common mistakes investigators make when determining the cause of a suspicious fire. Specifically, it discussed the role of bias in fire investigation. For example, arson investigators tend to look for arson, and insurance investigators tend to look for insurance fraud. The article recommends that fire investigators have a scientific or chemical background. Terry desperately wanted to get in touch with the author.
I didn't understand email. When I saw the little envelope thing on his page, I clicked on it, and it's, like a blank page pops up for you to type in. So I just assumed, okay, well, I can send this to him. And I still didn't understand how he would get back to me.
The author, Tony Cave, did respond. But since he lived in Australia, he recommended Dr. Gerald Hurst in Austin, Texas. Dr. Hurst earned his Ph.D. in chemistry from Cambridge, and he agreed to look into Terry's case.
Homeowners burning a house down to kill their children, pretty rare. Very rare.
Terry sent Dr. Hurst every piece of information she had about the fire. After reading through it, Dr. Hurst was struck by how incomplete the local investigation had been.
I decided to concentrate on the attic precisely because they had said almost nothing about the attic in the investigation report. The attic was a complete revelation.
The insulation in the attic was made of ground-up newspaper treated with a flame-retardant chemical. Dr. Hurst checked local weather conditions, and he discovered that Hurricane Fran had passed through Tabor City, North Carolina, just 6 weeks before the fire. Terry said the torrential rains from that hurricane leaked through the roof and caused water damage in the ceilings. Dr. Hurst also found a melted 50-year-old electrical wire in the attic insulation. Terry told Hurst there had been some electrical problems on the night of the fire. Her curling iron had been going on and off earlier that evening. And when she moved the electric space heater for the firemen, she remembers it was cold to the touch.
I picked it up with both hands and just slid it out of the way. And later is when it dawned on me that that heater should have been very hot. I mean, it had been turned on and full blast.
That meant that the heater had gone off at least a half an hour before she became aware of the fire.
Dr. Hurst and fire investigator Ken Gibson flew to North Carolina to inspect Terry's home firsthand. They did not believe the fire started the way the government investigators said.
Well, it's really very simple. Innocent people are being put into prison or forced into plea bargains for fires they did not start.
After Terry Henson was charged with arson and murder in the death of her 17-month-old son Joshua, her only hope was a scientist she found through the internet.
Jerry Hurst is one of these guys who kind of comes out of left field and can actually save the day in this case.
The findings of the State Bureau of Investigation and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms rested on the theory that the fire started on the floor of the bedroom closet. And when the cause couldn't be found, they concluded the fire had been deliberately set.
ATF, they call themselves arson investigators. The state call themselves arson investigators. That's what they're looking for, is arson. That's what they train for. That's what they go to school for, is to catch arsonists. What you want is a fire investigator to determine what caused the fire.
Dr. Hurst found evidence that the roof leaked in Terry's rented home, and tests revealed it washed away the flame-retardant chemicals on the paper insulation. He also found evidence of electrical malfunctioning. On the day of the fire, mysteriously, Terry's curling iron was going on and off. And during the fire, when Terry moved the space heater, it was cold to the touch. This indicated the heater had not been on for at least a half hour before the fire. The heater was plugged into a line originally designed for 15 amps. In the fuse box was a 30-amp fuse which had blown out.
That means that you're carrying more power through that wire than it was designed to carry. And when you overload it, it heats, it gets hot.
Cold snap, a 1,500-watt appliance on a line that had probably never seen that high a wattage before. And the question became, did that electrical line over the top of the closet feed the heater? Because if it did, you had a correlation. You had a potential cause and effect situation.
And that is exactly what he found. The cable in the attic fed the outlet used by the 1,500-watt space heater and the curling iron.
And that's what really frosted the cake for us. We had an origin, a cause that could not be disproven scientifically, and we had a connection between the differences in what was done that night and what had been done before. And that gives you a very strong presumptive case for an accidental fire.
Dr. Hurst believes several factors created the chain of events that culminated with the fatal fire. Water from the leaking roof washed the flame-retardant chemicals off of the paper insulation in the attic and further eroded the 50-year-old electrical cable. Over time, as the rainwater hit the exposed portion of the electrical cable, it arced, burning the wooden attic beam and leaving behind char marks or carbon tracks. Wood does not conduct electricity, but carbon does. Dr. Hurst believes that when Terry plugged in the 1,500-watt space heater that night, it heated the electrical wires in the attic, which arced. Those sparks touched a carbon track, which ignited the paper insulation just above Joshua's bedroom closet.
A wooden ceiling with an already well-built fire that suddenly breaks through produces a holocaust in no time at all.
The fiery debris from the attic fell through the hole in the ceiling onto the floor of the closet and did not start on the floor and burn upwards as local investigators suspected. Ken Gibson believes that the fire officials rushed to judgment.
So anything that doesn't fall into the theory that this was part of how the arsonist started the fire, to them it's not evidence, it's just something that's there.
Dr. Hurst sent the local prosecutor his critique of the government's investigation, which said their conclusions were based on junk science.
Not only is there a badly melted and arced fire, it had arc marks on it, which could have been caused by the fire, but which could also have initiated the fire. No way to tell. And that wire passed across dead center in the hole in the ceiling. Quite a coincidence.
To his credit, the district attorney studied Dr. Hurst's report, conducted his own investigation, and dropped the charges against Terry Hinson. But by the time it was all over, she had lost her home, her child, and nearly her freedom because of an inaccurate conclusion drawn from faulty science.
Fire investigation in general is the swamp of forensic science. In fact, many forensic scientists refuse to recognize arson investigation as a subfield of forensic science.
I think Terry's story in many respects is heroic. She was not a very well-educated woman, although she's extremely intelligent. And she had just enough computer studies at her community college to know that if she was going to be under house arrest, she needed some way where she could put herself out into the world, even if it was only through her computer and email.
There's people sitting in prison that have gone through what I've gone through, but they didn't have the help, they didn't know how to get it, didn't have the money, and that's not fair.
Terry Hinson cherishes her freedom and the time she spends with Brittany. Yet Terry thinks of Joshua every day. What he would have looked like. What kind of person he'd be. Remembering the good times.
I look around and I see him everywhere.